segment 2.
So a topic that my team and I thought that was very important in the business world was negotiating your salary. And you know, who doesn't love money? So I thought we'd talk about that with the class. My name is James, and a couple of points that we'll be going over is negotiation can be expected, the importance of research, letting your employer decide first, the men versus women in negotiation, and then knowing what the overall package is, because sometimes it can not just be money. So I'll be talking about negotiation being expected. So a story that I have, I was in high school, and I worked as a server. Now, my manager would pay college kids $1 more than high school kids. However, I'd be doing just the same amount of work, if not even better than the college kids. So professional, I pulled my manager aside and had a professional talk with her and told her, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but I think I've noticed that I do just the same amount of work. I'm just as mature, and maybe I even do a better job than some of these guys, but they get paid more than me. So I feel like I had a little plea with her, and she agreed with me, thankfully, and paid me more. So make sure to negotiate with a purpose and just don't do it to do it, because sometimes they give you a number, but you just like, oh, I have to negotiate, but sometimes that's the only number a company can give you. So so a little respect goes a long way. So if you just negotiate too much, like even about little things, then that might rub employers the wrong way, and so that might even ruin negotiations in the future for even more important things. And make sure to be realistic, tying into knowing about numbers before you get into negotiation in the first place. That's kind of a good hand-me-up to Caitlin, to what she's going to talk about.
Alright, so I'll be going over doing your research before an interview, before you go into negotiate your salary. So this may seem kind of obvious to do your research beforehand, but it's very important to know what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable, because you're trying to work at this company for hopefully a long time and you don't want to rub people the wrong way. So this is going to be based on your experience, your knowledge, and your degree. So it's important to start off by preparing a list. The list is going to help you become more professional and more confident when you go in there to discuss things with them, because you're going to have more of that background knowledge. And yeah. Also, asking other employees for an estimation is not necessarily a bad thing if you know someone that works in a company, or if you know someone who works at a similar job as those people, or like as you're trying to get, then you could ask them what a typical salary range would be, maybe, instead of like, hey, how much money do you make, which is kind of rude. You could ask them like, what's a fair salary range? So that way you have an idea of what the low end would be, what the high end would be, so you can kind of justify why you chose the number that you want to choose. Asking questions. So you also can ask the person that, like HR or management or whoever is hiring you, what you could possibly be offered, like what they offer. That way they started off, that way you're not kind of going in there first. So that way you see maybe what their salary range would be before you go in. And then being informed kind of sums up all of it. But I mean, this day and age is really easy to figure out what a typical salary would be like. You can get online. There's Indeed.com. There's like that little thing at the bottom that's like average salary for whatever. So that kind of helps out. And then Glassdoor, which may not be accurate, but Glassdoor has stuff on there too. So it just kind of helps you guide how much money like an average salary would be. So that way you're not shooting it out of the park. Just like, this is how much money I'm gonna make. And they're like, this is so easy. But yeah, and then and also I have a personal story. So I worked at a restaurant as a server, and I had another server that became a manager, like on a promotion in management, and she didn't have a clue how much restaurant managers made. I don't know why she didn't just search it up, but she went in there and she went straight for how much she wanted to make and told them how much she wanted to make. And they were like, okay. So she ended up making significantly less than all my other managers for 2 years straight. She ended up making, I know how much she made. She asked for $35,000 and my managers made $60,000. So worked the exact same job. And so she made that big of a difference just because she didn't have any background knowledge on how much the server should make. And she did that for 2 years before she finally became our GM, and then she made a lot more. But, and then Eugene will be talking about.
First of all, it's important to set the tone. This is how you approach the conversation. You should do this because you should wait for them to state the starting salary and then negotiate up from there. You never want to you don't want to have differences in expectations where you're demanding too much when they expect to pay you a lot less or they think your job is worth a lot less money. Additionally, you should avoid counter and counter offer games. You do not want to talk salary too early or too abruptly in the negotiation. You should gauge during the conversation and learn a lot before the interview so that you can answer appropriately to the question that they commonly ask. Name a number. What is it that you have in mind? Finally, it's important to be likable for a better deal. Potential employers are more likely to fight for you if they like your personality or if they think you respect them during the negotiation. This will make it easier for them to even work to get you a higher salary as well.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about men versus women when it comes to negotiating. So the first thing is do not play hardball. Women are told not to play hardball. Men are told that they should. Bottom line, you shouldn't do it. You should go in prepared with reasons for why you deserve the amount that you're asking for, and you should be level-headed and open to figuring out how they are going to get to that point. And you also shouldn't get discouraged easily. When you go in with those reasons why you deserve the amount, it's easier to stand your ground because you can say, I have this degree, I have this experience, I did this project, rather than just saying, oh, I don't know why I should that amount, it's just the number I came up with. And this is also easier for the hiring manager to go back to their other manager or the HR rep and tell them why you deserve that amount rather than the manager just going back and saying, I don't know, that's what they asked for. It'll give them a reason to get it approved. So when it comes to gender expectations, like I said, women are expected to not play hardball and men are. Women are also expected not to negotiate at all, and they also are faced with more backlash when they do. So whenever you go in, positivity is key to not get that backlash. So men sometimes, there's that idea of banging their fist on the table, that big like Hollywood kind of thing. I deserve this amount, such and such company would pay me because of this. And then women, they go in, they're like, oh, I mean, okay, that's an okay salary, or let's just bump it up 5,000 or whatever it is. But if you go in level-headed, clear-minded, and you two can work together and figure out why the amount is reasonable, and you're nice about it, kind of like what she was saying, you have to be nice and work together to get to that number. So I have a story about my mom. She was a vice principal in Mansfield. She went in and asked about her salary because she was going from the same exact position from a different district. And her new position, which was the same, different vice principal, just different district, her new position was taking a pay cut, so she was going to ask to see if she could at least get the same pay that she was at the last place. She was met with blank stares. Like, we don't negotiate salaries. This is what we're setting. This is what we can offer. About a year later, she found out that her two male coworkers who had the exact same position, there were 3 vice principals, they were the other 2 vice principals, were allowed to negotiate their salary and were making more than her. So no matter what, you need to go in and say, this is what I want, here are my reasons. I'm going to pass it over to Eric.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. And I'm going to talk about the last part of the article, which is not just think about the money, but you have to look at the overall package. So from this topic, we know money is not everything, and there's also other benefits that come with your job, right? And a lot of large companies do have other employee benefits, such as the 401k retirement plan that allow their employee to build their own retirement portfolio, and other benefits such as the Medicare and maybe some business trip benefits. So let's say your dream is to make a lot of money so you can travel all around the world or just try out different food everywhere. You can just have a job that is not making much but allows you to have those business trips. So over time, you might save a lot of like hotel reward points and those like AA flight mileage. Everybody knows that, right? So you can still make your dream come true if you redeem those points and mileage into the hotels and flight tickets. And that makes your dream come true. So, but on the other hand, those are also the additional costs for a company. So actually, it seems like you're not getting the money, but it actually costs the company to bring you this benefit on the same time. So sometimes, instead of just focusing on the amount of money you have to focus about the whole entire package to see what the actual benefit the companies bring to you. And I also have a fun story for you, but seems like I haven't planned everything yet, but it's getting real interesting, so I'll talk about it next time. So finally, I will let James to conclude our presentation and tell you more about our film activity.
Thank you so much. Amazing. So to wrap everything up, negotiation is expected. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and talk with your employer. Do your research. So make sure you know what you're talking about, and so you don't get paid $30,000 instead you could be getting paid $60,000. Let them decide. Like have a respect for your employer. Don't just start throwing numbers out there. Kind of avoid or try to overcome like gender roles in negotiation, especially for my lovely ladies out there. And don't forget that money isn't everything. Okay, there's an overall package. So around now is when we perform a skit, but we're just going to save that until next time. Thank you so much.
Okay.